Hi, I'm Belle. Well, I'm back with Tim McKibben from the Real Estate Institute of New South Wales. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Belle. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Now, as with any home, in a strata scheme, things can break and things need repairing. So basically, who repairs it and where do we get the money to repair these things when they break, Tim?
Well, you're certainly correct. Being in a strata scheme doesn't exempt you from things breaking or things needing repairs. Yep. I suppose the answer to your question is that the things that need repairing depends on who owns it. We've talked previously about things that the lot owner owns, the person within the particular unit, and the common property.
Okay.
So I guess the answer to your question is it depends on who owns it and where the money comes from.
Okay, so who is responsible for repairs in a strata scheme situation?
Well, again, if the repair relates to I guess a piece of common property, then the money would be coming out of the administrative fund or sinking fund, depending on the nature of the repair or maintenance that's necessary. If it is something within the strata, within the unit itself, something you own, so by way of example, say maybe your carpets or something like that, then you would have to fix that and pay for that yourself.
Right. So let's get into some detail. What about, for example, Tim, if there was some damage to my ceiling?
Well, if there's damage to the ceiling, then that would be a common property area because that's part of the structure.
Okay.
And we talked once before about the thickness of the paint and everything else. So the concrete or whatever it was that made up that particular structure would be part of the common property. So if there was a repair necessary there, you'd approach the owners corporation, you draw their attention to that and request that they attend to that repair.
Okay, right. What about with regards to the walls? So I know that you have mentioned the walls, the thickness of the paint. So what if there's actually damage to the walls within my unit or within my building? Okay,
the walls can be a little bit complex because certainly the external walls would make up part of the common property. So if it was one of them was damaged, then as I said with the ceiling, I think it would be the same thing.
Okay.
Internal walls can be, depending on the particular strata, can be owned by the unit holder or the lot owner, if you prefer.
Yep.
So, and it may be the case if that particular wall was damaged, then it may be the case that that would be a lot owner's responsibility to fix that.
Okay.
They can be a little bit. They sort of move a little bit depending on the strata.
Yep. Great. And also, what about, you mentioned before carpets and things. So what about if there is damage to my carpets? Whose responsibility is that one?
Yeah, if the carpet is damaged, and we talked about the thickness of the paint, so I suppose if we follow that same thinking, the carpets are owned by the lot owners. So you come into your unit and you put your carpets down, or the first person that came in there would have put the carpets down. So they're owned by the lot owners. So if they're damaged, that would be the lot owner's responsibility.
Okay.
Good news is you don't need to go and speak to anybody about organising the repairs because it's your property.
Great.
Bad news is you've got to pay for it.
Okay. I've got a question. What if there is a leak that's come from another property and it damages your carpet?
Now very good question. Now that would, I guess, depend on the circumstances. But if we follow your question through, it could be argued that the leak has come through from common property, which has damaged your property. And if we can trace that back, you would have an argument, I suppose, to take to the owners corporation, to be able to trace back where the damage has come from, and maybe the owners corporation, depending on the circumstances, would be responsible for fixing your carpet.
Okay, so you need to investigate a little bit further exactly where it's come from. So if red wine's spilt or something, that's definitely your responsibility.
One would think so.
Okay. Or your guests. Okay, so what about light fittings?
Yeah, similarly with light fittings, the light fittings obviously hang off the ceiling. So those particular light fittings typically would be owned by the lot owner. But by way of some, I guess if the light fittings was in the hallway or something like that, in the common property area, and you were to identify that one of them needed repair, that would be the responsibility of the owners corporation. But light fittings within inside your unit, inside your lot, would be your responsibility.
So they're my responsibility.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Another question. So if you do have a balcony, who's responsible for repairs if there is any damage on my balcony? Yeah,
well, the balcony, again, is part of the common property.
Okay,
so even though I guess it protrudes outside of the unit, we talked about it inside that theoretical box. But again, the balcony would be part of the common property. So if there was some sort of structural problem with that, that would again be the responsibility of the owners corporation.
So that's balconies and courtyards, any external area off my internal unit?
Yeah, the courtyard, again, depending on, some courtyards are actually part of the unit. so
Right.
part of the lot owner.
Yep.
Other courtyards are in the common property. So it depends what it is, and you can normally identify that from the plans, and also obviously going into go and speak to your
Right.
strata manager, and they'll be able to assist you with that.
Okay, great. Now, how do I get repairs done? Obviously, if my guests have spilt the red wine, will I take it up with them, or I fix it myself? But if there are repairs that need to be done that are part of the common property, how do I go about that?
Okay, we'll put the red wine to one side. If there is damage done to or a repair necessary to the common property,
Yep.
we've identified that, you would contact the owners corporate, the strata
Okay.
manager sometimes is, you can contact them and say, look, this needs doing. They would have a delegated authority to spend a certain amount of money
Yep.
and to be able to correct whatever needed doing. If it is a major repair,
Yep.
a major repair, then they may need to go back to the executive committee and speak to them about the sort of allocation of resources. And if it was a huge one, then we've talked before about raising special levies.
Yes,
So
yes.
it may be the case that what you've stumbled over, what you've discovered, what needed repairing was a very, very big job. So then they may have to go and have a calling for a special levy.
Okay, so my next question was going to be, where does the money from the repairs come from? So you've touched a little bit on the levies there. So is that where the money from the repairs come from?
Exactly right. I mean, and it's no different to if you're living in your own home, in a freestanding home yourself. You'd have to
Yep.
pay for everything. So in a strata situation, I guess we all come together collectively, but the money still has to come from the individual. So we all put our money into a common fund, if you will,
Yep.
and then out of that, the various repairs are paid for from the common property.
Okay, so the money comes out of a common fund.
Yes.
And that's where we pay for the repairs.
Correct.
Great. Well, lovely to see you
And you.
again. And thank you so much for clarifying those things for us.
Okay, we'll see you again.
Thanks, Tim. Responsibility for repairs and maintenance is fairly straightforward. The Owners Corporation is responsible for all repairs to common property, and individual owners are responsible for repairs to their lot. Now, what gets difficult is when you don't know exactly what is common property and what is your lot. The basic rule is that anything within the airspace of your unit or your lot, and that includes internal walls, fixtures, carpets, and even the paint on those walls, is the responsibility of the individual lot owner. Anything outside of that is the responsibility of the Owners Corporation and its common property. So external walls and doors, they're the responsibility of the Owners Corporation for all repairs and maintenance. For more information about strata schemes, you can visit the Real Estate Institute of New South Wales at reinsw.com.au or New South Wales Fair Trading at fairtrading.nsw.gov.au.